Are you a plastic or a Heather? Welcome to MsMojo, and today we'll be pitting Heathers and Mean Girls, two teen flicks about infamous cliques and the lives they ruin, against each other. Before we begin, we publish new content every day, so be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. Both iconic in their own right, it'll be far from easy to compare these beloved comedies. But let's get down to the nitty-gritty to see which movie reigns supreme. Round 1. Plot. At Westerberg High School, the entire student body lives in fear of the Heathers, a clique of 3 rich and attractive girls led by the cruel Heather Chandler. As the group's unofficial 4th member, Veronica Sawyer participates in the Heathers' vile schemes while secretly hating her so-called best friends. Following a volatile night out with Chandler, Veronica and an outcast named JD decide to play a little prank by tricking the Heathers' leader into drinking what ends up being drain cleaner. Long story short, Heather dies and the murderers stage the whole thing to seem like a suicide.
I just killed my best friend.
And your worst enemy.
Same difference.
Things only get worse from there, leading to a slew of dead bodies, a psychotic JD, and Veronica giving the middle finger to her reputation. Joining North Shore High School after growing up in Africa, Katie Heron quickly learns wild animals are nowhere near as vicious as teenagers.
I don't know if anyone told you about me. I'm a new student here. My name is Katie Heron.
Talk to me again and I'll kick your ass.
In a community segregated by cliques, the plastics stand at the top of the social food chain. Spurred by a classmate with a vendetta against the group, Katie joins the plastics in order to take down Regina George, the school's queen bee who rules the hallways using blackmail. Katie sabotages and usurps Regina as the plastics leader, steadily becoming more and more like the manipulative bully in the process. Regina and Katie's war causes the entire school to fall into chaos, but Katie ultimately accepts responsibility for her actions, realizes everyone is wonderful in their own way, and helps the plastics grow as people. Happy endings for all involved. Both movies boast well-written plots with interesting characters. That being said, Mean Girls is a far tamer version of Heathers. Due to starting out as a naive outsider, Katie's coming-of-age story is more predictable and lacks much in the way of lasting negative consequences. Comparatively, Heathers is dark, intense, and twisted. Winner, Heathers. Round 2. Humor. Heathers is a quintessential black comedy. Tackling themes such as rape, teen suicide, peer pressure, and school shootings, Heathers frames many of these sensitive subjects as fads to be adopted and discarded by a cynical student body concerned only with social standing.
Grow up, Heather. Bulimia is so 87.
Rather than lovingly mocking the romanticized idea of high school, Heathers viciously satirizes affirmative teen comedies while delivering line after line of hilarious banter.
I must say I was impressed to see that she made proper use of the word myriad in her suicide note.
The humor is irreverent, sharp, and harsh. Written by Tina Fey, Mean Girls blends the comedian's Saturday Night Live humor with a grounded aesthetic. Although the jokes are mostly crowd pleasers, Mean Girls possesses enough of an edge to give the punchlines a noticeable bit of a bite.
Hey, get out of here!
Oh my god, Danny DeVito, I love your work!
For example, Tina Fey's teacher is falsely accused of being a drug dealer, while Katie's background in Africa leads to a few hilarious and visually exciting metaphors.
So if you're from Africa, why are you white?
Oh my god, Karen, you can't just ask people why they're white.
Mean Girls also casts Amy Poehler as Regina's cool mom, which is definitely a point in the movie's favor.
There are no rules in this house. I'm not like a regular mom. I'm a cool mom.
Regardless of someone's age group or background, Mean Girls' witty and accessible humor should guarantee, at the very least, a couple of belly laughs. Dark comedies are a tougher sell, and a certain frame of mind is necessary to truly appreciate Heathers. However, when the jokes hit, they hit hard.
Do they even have Thanksgiving in Africa? Oh, sure. Pilgrims, Indians, tater tots. It's a real party continent.
Even if Mean Girls is a slightly safer bet, both movies stand up to repeat viewings and offer something for adults and teenagers. We're calling this round a tie. Winner, Heathers and Mean Girls. Round 3. QUOTABILITY. Whether staging a suicide or playing a game of croquet, Heathers always has the perfect thing to say. Oozing sarcasm and cynicism, The most memorable lines of dialogue are simultaneously shocking and funny.
My son's a homosexual, and I love him. I love my dead gay son.
The movie helped popularize phrases like "what's your damage" and "lick it up." Although everyone knows that Heathers' greatest quote involves a chainsaw.
Me gently with the chainsaw. Do I look like Mother Teresa?
The wittiest dialogue in Hollywood means nothing without an audience willing to listen. Mean Girls is not only filled with snappy one-liners, but at release, the teen flick could not be escaped.
Get in, loser, we're going shopping.
Lines like "why are you so obsessed with me" and "on Wednesdays we wear pink" are quoted seemingly daily as memes or casual references. Snappy dialogue is one thing, but Mean Girls transcends cinema to become a part of everyday life.
So fetch.
What is fetch?
Oh, it's like slang from England.
Heathers' dialogue is a bit too subversive and stylized to be particularly applicable in daily conversations.
Dear Diary, my teen angst bullshit has a body count.
Combined with the fact that the movie bombed at the box office and predates social media, Heather's status as a cult hit limits its quotability quite a bit. On the other hand, Mean Girls came out at the perfect time to profit from the pervasiveness afforded by the internet. More importantly, Mean Girls quotes work fine outside of the movie's context and are more likely to be recognized.
She doesn't even go here.
While both are stuffed with memorable lines of dialogue, Mean Girls has Heather's beat in the quotability department. And that's pretty fetch. Winner, Mean Girls. Round 4, Legacy. Critics loved Heathers, but a near non-existent marketing campaign doomed the dark comedy to a quick death at the box office. In a decade defined by John Hughes comedies and sugary teen flicks, Heathers gave a shock to the system. Despite utterly flopping in theaters, Heathers remains one of cinema's defining teen movies, and could really only have been produced during the late 1980s.
Did you hear? School's canceled today because Kurt and Ram killed themselves in a repressed homosexual suicide pact.
No way.
Any subsequent edgy high school comedy is likely to be compared with this classic, and most fall short of the mark. 20 years after hitting theaters, Heathers spawned a lighter off-Broadway stage musical that proved popular enough to secure a run in London. In 2018, the movie was rebooted as an admittedly ill-received and controversial TV series. Still, not bad for a flop.
Now, how does it feel to be a part of the 21st century?
Cold.
If nearly a decade after release, the White House's official Twitter page is still referencing Mean Girls, then it's safe to assume the movie left a lasting impression. In addition to being Lindsay Lohan's standout role, Mean Girls cemented Tina Fey as the comedy writer and launched Rachel McAdams to new heights. Social media has officially dubbed October 3rd as Mean Girls Day, a nod to a scene between Katie and Aaron.
On October 3rd, he asked me what day it was.
It's October 3rd.
Along with a better left unacknowledged sequel, Mean Girls has been adapted into video games, countless parody videos, and a musical that started out in Washington before transitioning to Broadway. There's no doubting Mean Girls' status as a cultural phenomenon. On the other hand, Heathers continues to persevere despite its modest beginnings and less accessible tone. An argument can also be made that the 80s dark comedy served as an inspiration for several later teen flicks centering around cliques, including Mean Girls.
Gretchen, stop trying to make fetch happen. It's not going to happen.
After all these years, Heathers is still a shocking and one-of-a-kind satire.
I just want my high school to be a nice place. Amen. Did that sound bitchy?
Winner, Heathers. Round 5, Finale. A strong finale can elevate a mediocre movie to greatness, and Heathers is never mediocre. Following multiple murders, Veronica finally attempts to break things off with JD, who retaliates by setting out to kill his ex-girlfriend. The third act raises the already high stakes by introducing a race against the clock as Veronica attempts to stop JD from blowing up the school.
People are gonna look at the ashes of Westerberg and say, now there is a school that self-destructed not because society didn't care, but because the school was society. It's pretty deep, huh?
Heathers maintains its sardonic tone and mean-spirited temperament until the very end. Redemption has no place at Westerberg High School. Attempted mass murder is not the only way to conclude a teen flick. Even with all of the backstabbing, mind games, and spitefulness, Mean Girls is still an uplifting story about being true to yourself in the face of peer pressure. Katie's elected queen at the spring fling dance, makes a speech about acceptance, and everyone changes for the better.
I think everybody looks like royalty tonight.
Mean Girls concludes on a fittingly predictable note. Look, we love a comforting happy ending, and Mean Girls delivers the goods. However, Heathers has Christian Slater blow himself up before the ensuing explosion lights up Veronica's cigarette. Heathers easily wins this round.
Veronica, you look like hell.
Yeah, I just got back.
Winner, Heathers. It would seem Heathers surpasses Mean Girls with a victory of 4-2. Did we pick the right film? Be sure to debate it in the comments, and of course, don't forget to subscribe to MsMojo for more entertaining versus battles.